So hello, thank you for having the English track, which I can present because my Spanish, if you have spoken to me before, then you know it's not good. So hopefully next year I can give a talk in Spanish, maybe. But anyway, thank you so much for coming as well to listen to this talk instead of other amazing talk. First of all, this is the slides and like my Twitter handle and stuff. I love people tweet about me, so please, if you love tweeting things, so we are a perfect match. So you can tweet about me. Yeah. So for those of you here, so do you come here because you have been to a sprint, you know what is a sprint, or you have no idea, you just come here just to see what I'm going to talk about? So who have attended a sprint? So, oh, there's a few of you. So you know what a sprint is, which is great. But before I dive into the talk, I would like to introduce you to a different type of sprint. So, oh, the picture is not loading. Okay, I would basically, I don't know why the picture is not loading, but or maybe because it needs to be on. Anyway, so this one actually you can find the picture on my Twitter. I was holding an ice cream on the street of Granada. So I was having Granada ice cream in Granada. So this is actually a joke that I sometimes, during a conference, I would, type in the channel saying, I'm going for an ice cream sprint, who's coming with me? And like sometimes people come with me, they thought it's a sprint at the conference, so they were like, oh, I've heard good things about the sprint, and join me, and they end up eating an ice cream. So that's what I sometimes do. So I'm Cheuk. Oh, this is loading, good, okay. So hello, I'm Cheuk, and I work in a lot of open source projects. I love open source projects. I think open source projects are important. And also, I also organize a lot of conference. I also organized something called Python Sprints in the past. It's not coming back after the pandemic yet because I was too busy. But anyway, so this is all the conference that I've been involved in the past. Also, I stream a little bit on Twitch during the pandemic because I was having too much time at hand. So that's what I did. So. What is a sprint that we got to talk about now? It's not the sport. For those of you who are very athletic and love running, so that's not that type of sprint. I actually have been to a lot of sprints, but I don't actually understand why it's called a sprint and what does it mean. So I have to give a talk, right? So I have to look it up. I have to find it on the internet. And then, so in the internet actually says that in, software development, sometimes, we have this development cycle, and then you will have these kind of sprints. That means that for a small team of members, they have to, they may have a lot of problem to solve, or they have a lot of new features to need to add. So they would, put their goal into small task, and then try to finish it within a set amount of time. So that's the sprint in software development. So basically, just sit together and finish some small tasks. That's basically what a sprint means in software development. But when we go to a conference, we are not actually developing a software, right? Nobody gonna pay you, give you money in the conference. So you don't go to the conference to work, well, except maybe me, but but you don't go to a conference, to expect to be developing some software and get paid, right? So what does it mean about a sprint in a conference? So in the sprint, in the conference, so I think some of you already know, especially for those of you who has been to a sprint, that basically it's just fixing some bugs and writing some, a test and then closing some issue, isn't it? Like we just, go to find a open source project and then go to the GitHub and then do what you think a contribution would be, and it's just to find issues and try to make a PR, make it to be accepted, and then everybody's happy. But I would like to say that sprint contribution is not limited to just code contribution. A lot of time, people mistaken and thought that open source contribution need to be technical, need to be some code or some tests. Some people may think, oh yeah, documentation, yes, but that's, that's some people, like there's people with experience who think that, oh, documentation is also important. Most people just think that I need to write some code to contribute to a project, which I'm going to tell you today, that's not true. This is, I was just inspired by the keynote just before, because she was talking about the conversational AI and things like that. I would like to introduce you to this. This is a Mozilla Common Voice project. I have contributed to it before, but I didn't write any code. I just go and speak my mother tongue, because at that time I found this project by a tweet, someone saying that, oh, they need a Cantonese speaker to contribute to this database and to also listen to verify whether some recordings are correct and things like that. So, so when I was at the keynote, I was trying to understand it. I think, oh yes, because in a lot of machine learning and things like that, it's written, or the database that they use will be in more popular language, English, or now I think that by the example that was shown in the keynote, the Spanish model was quite good as well. But if you speak any other language, or maybe someone who speaks any other language that is less spoken, then that may be something you can contribute to open source. It's not code. It's just what you can do to help the community. This is, again, a picture that's missing. I forgot that the picture won't work if I use another computer. But anyway, this picture, again, you can find it on Twitter. So this is a picture that I was taken in PyCon Portugal. Actually, sorry, it's JungleCon Europe in Porto last week. So this is at the end of the conference. I took a picture at the auditorium where during the closing, when there are lots of volunteers that come on stage, and then everybody claps because we thank them because they contribute to the community. They didn't maybe they also can, they're also technical, maybe they can code, or maybe they work as a software developer, but they contribute to the community by other things, by organizing things, by organize the coffee break. Code won't give you coffee break and the yummy pastry that you just had, right? So someone needs to organize that. Someone needs to make that happen. And there's also contribution to organize events, to do stuff that's not code-based for the community. But then go back to the sprint, like why we do the sprints. Why we just not, do what we want for the community? Well, because the sprint is actually something that would really help you in your journey in the community, I would say. Because there are a few benefits that I can think of that I think that would really, you would really enjoy and benefit from the sprint. For example, you can make new friends. Some example including, if you go to a sprint at the conference, you will meet some project maintainers that you may have used the package or the library for your work for a long time, but you have never met the maintainers. In my example, when I was started working as a data scientist, I used pandas a lot, right? So I hope all of you have heard about pandas at least. So it's a library for managing data. So it's very popular. And by going to a sprint, I met the maintainer of pandas for the first time. And they are really nice people. I wasn't expecting that because at that time I was not that, I was new to the community. I don't understand too much how it works. I just think that, oh, these people must be, genius that they create this stuff for us to use for free. But when I meet them, they're actually real people. They are just like you and me, but they may have created something or working on something that is very popular. I do have a lot of respect for them, but they're also very nice, and just like they would talk to you, they would, so you thought they are, oh my God, like these people, maybe they are too good for me to talk to. No, they would talk to you. It's very nice, and then you become their friends. And then you can learn about a new package. There are things that you may have never heard of. It's maybe something that is outside of your work domain that you may never, ever know what it's going to do. If you go to a sprint, then usually at the beginning of the sprint, people will come and explain what the project they're leading. So some of the fun ones are like, for example, I learned about a library called PyGame0 that actually is about making games with Python. Something that I've never think about I would know and Python could do at that time. And so I would know about a new project and then a new package that you have never heard of. And if it's not for the sprint, I would never get a chance to know what it is and look at the code and try it out myself. Also, to get inspired, a lot of times, you keep working for your work or something, you code, you use the package that you use every day. You thought you know it inside out. You thought you are a very advanced user. But at the sprint, when you actually look at the source code of the project, then you would actually understand that there may be another better way of doing it that you have never thought of if you're just doing your day-to-day work. So which is very good, and something that I think it's an experience that you can't really get a lot when you're just working with the same group of people in your company and things like that. The last thing is to collaborate. A lot of times I see people that they are maybe working on similar libraries. They would actually cross-check, how do you do this? Or maybe there are some upstream dependencies that, for example, in PyCon US, we have sprints. And then I was working with a maintainer of the hypothesis. We're testing out things. And then we found out, oh, there's something that maybe the newer version of Python, CPython, that give us a strange error or something like that. So there is a chance because the CPython developers are sitting in the next room, just next door. You can go there and, hello, I have this problem, and talk to them. Not just that, but other libraries like PyTest, we also try to test a lot of things with PyTest, and sometimes if we have a question, we can just ask the people working on PyTest. So it's very easy to collaborate instead of you may have to open an issue. Well, you can still open an issue during the sprints, but on top of that, there's something that you maybe lost in the communication, in the typing. You can just talk to the real person who may take care of that issue for you. So that's really good. This is, again, the picture of the ice cream, because I want to say that with the ice cream sprint, you can also make friends, but maybe and exchange ideas, but maybe not sit down and code. So that's the only difference. You do learn a lot in the sprint, which is something that I am advocating for people, because I've seen a lot of times during at the conference, some conference they will have sprint date as their tradition, but I have met some participants that they would just disappear during the sprint day. It's fine, but I would recommend if you have never tried, maybe think about that. I will tell you my personal experience. Again, I was sprinting on hypothesis. So who have used hypothesis before and know what it is? So 1, 2, a few? Okay, good. So hypothesis is a testing library that is doing property-based testing. So I won't dive into too much detail, but it's just a testing library. If you want to know more, you can watch my previous talks in other conferences. So I was working on hypothesis. I have used hypothesis before a little bit. But then by going to the sprint, I learned something new, because who knows that there's a ghostwriter in hypothesis? None. Yeah, so I'm also one of you. I didn't heard about ghostwriter before. But because I was at the sprints, I was contributing to a hypothesis. And then I was tackling this issue with ghostwriter. Then I was scratching my head. wait a second, what is a ghostwriter? So I read the documentation of ghostwriter, I understand what it's trying to achieve, look at the code base and try to solve the problem that that issue was describing. So by going to a sprint, by contribution, you learn something new that you may overlook because you have never used it before and never heard of it before. So that's the benefit of doing that. There's also other great ideas can come from the sprints. A lot of times, we will have a lot of amazing projects that people are doing during the sprint. So this is actually something that all of you can contribute because this is the project of translating the Python documentation into Spanish. So I think the first time I heard about this effort was a few years ago, I think, in maybe EuroPython. But I think it started in PyCon US years ago. So I think it's still ongoing because you can see that now it's Python 3.10.7, but Python 3.11 is coming out, and there will be new features and new things that need to be translated. So next time, maybe consider, maybe talk to someone who is more experienced in this effort, and then if you go to a sprint, you can maybe lead the effort to start translating some new things about the CPython documentation. So by doing that, actually, you're contributing also to CPython. Going back to the point that not all contribution are code contribution. Translation is also a contribution, so highly recommended that. To sum up, I think it's like everything just go back to the community. So missing picture again. So this picture, actually, you don't have to look it up online. You can just go downstairs, back to the main hall. Next to the registration, there was a board. So there was a board yesterday. I took a picture yesterday. So it asks, what does Python mean to you? And then people write stuff there, right? So I try to understand what's people have written down. So I saw one person with the green pen written down comunidad, which is community. So what Python means to you is the community. And I totally agree on that. Because for me, a lot of people ask me, why do you prefer Python? Is it a very good programming language? I would answer that I am not technical enough to judge different languages because I can write Python. I learn a little bit of maybe JavaScript and things, but I don't know enough to judge what programming language is better than the other. Or maybe there's no good answer to that because they may be for different tasks. But I can proudly tell people that the Python community could probably be the best. That's why I'm in this zone. I am in the Python community. So community is a very important part of Python, I would say. So without the community, there will be no sprints. Because like I said before, things doesn't just happen, right? Just like the coffee break, just like the keynote, just like anything, the room that you're sitting in right now. Without the community, without people organizing it, there will be no sprints, right? Nothing will happen. There will be no conference and no sprints. But without the sprints, there will be less contributions. People are less aware of that they can actually do something for the community. They can translate the documentation. They can, if you can also work on the code if you want to, or you can, try some new libraries and find out some issues and report it back. Without the sprints, there may still be contribution, but there will be much less because you are refined in your zone of your work. Maybe a few, pet projects and hobby projects, but it's quite limited. And then without the contributions, there's no community because, without the contribution, without people putting effort in, we won't be gathering here. The Python community won't be the same. So this is the picture again. Look up on my Twitter. Actually, no, don't look it up on my Twitter. Look it up on the EuroSciPy Twitter. This is probably the top tweet from EuroSciPy. So EuroSciPy happened at the end of, at the end of August, so just 2 months ago now. So, or actually like last month, yeah, it's like end of, end of August. So it was EuroSci-Pi, and then it's a 5-day conference, right? Very intense, you know. If you have been to a conference, you know, conference is, you know, you socialize with people and you work, you know, have to use your brain because you go to workshops and talks, and then you socialize again at the end, and then maybe go out late. But at the end of EuroSci-Pi, there's a day of sprint. And this is the, supposedly, like if it doesn't mess up, the picture was taken during the sprint. And it was a room full of people. I was very impressed because I told you, I've met people that sometimes they left after the conference. They may be too tired, or they have other things at home they have to take care of. They have to go back early, or they would rather check out the city. But at EuroSci-Pi, it was the first, actually this is the first time they organized in Basel. So it's a new city for a lot of people. People decided to not go around, but stay in a room, actually 2 rooms, but they are both full, around 70 people, compared to a conference that's around 200 people, that stay in the room to contribute to open source project. I was very impressed, and I hope that may be the case for a lot of different conferences as well. So I've told you a lot about why a sprint is good, why contributing is good. But sometimes we have challenges. So who know about Hacktoberfest, which is happening now? Yes, some of you. So every year there's this event called Hacktoberfest. The idea is to encourage people to contribute to open source project. I haven't been actively participated for a few years, but in the past when I was actively participating, they would give a free T-shirt for people who sign up and contribute to free pull requests, to free contribution. You have a free T-shirt. The idea is really good, but technically it created some problem because they created a lot of noise, a lot of people. I can't tell you what their intention is, but I have been told by some maintainer that there are some pull requests that not a not a very effective pull request because they may fix some minor typos or just some even, for example, today I saw a tweet, one maintainer was saying someone just go to the Q&A page and then add question and answer in front of the question and answers, which is not necessary. But people do make that kind of pull request, try to finish the quest to get a free T-shirt. It's a lot of maintainers nowadays, they doubt about this effort, right? They doubt about whether this is a healthy thing to encourage people to contribute like that. I would say that, yes, Hacktoberfest do have a flaw that like some people, they may not truly understand the idea of contributing and they just want to get the T-shirt. But I think by organizing a sprint, those things can be minimized because in a sprint, people will sit together in the room. You can have an introductory talk or something to explain to people what's the idea of a contribution and how they can contribute. And also they will be in better guidance because the maintainer will be there sitting with them and guide them through some pull requests or issues that is suited for their ability. So they don't have to be like struggle in finding something that they can do. So they end up doing something that is not very helpful for the project. That's why I think that if you ask me how to improve Hacktoberfest, I would say we can't just run Hacktoberfest without the support with the sprints, that we actually put an effort to guide people to contribute. And also, some maintainer may say that running a sprint, guiding people to solve the problem is more difficult than solving the problem themselves. But why do they do that, right? Same question may happen in your company, that why do you teach your junior developers or interns to do stuff, right? It's faster to do it yourself. If you stay up, maybe stay later at work one day, you can finish all of them. Why spend another extra a day or two to teach them, to guide them, to make them grow? The problem is we need to make them grow. We need to have people. One day we would all want to be retired, and if young people or new people doesn't come in and get the help that they need, then we may not have good developers. Or it will only be the developers who, who are just like, in the environment that they have advantage of, right? That's why if we want a community with like more diversity and inclusion, we should also put in more efforts to support people who are maybe less confident, because they see themselves as minority, and you need to give them more encouragement and more support. So that's why if you are a maintainer or if you're a more senior developer, try to help others. Try to be kind and help younger or maybe newer people in the community to grow, to learn. So I think that's at the end of my talk. I would like to ask this question and leave this to you. Do we want... conversational AI. So do we want the sprint at PyCon Spain next year? So if your answer is yes, I would love to see that. Talk to the organizers and tell them that you would love to join a sprint. You would love to be sitting with amazing people next year, and maybe it will happen. So that's it from me. Thank you.